Hi there, I'm Julie Tam, managing broker of LYN Realty. Thank you so much for joining me for Smarter Real Estate weekly on Wednesdays, where I take you on some of my real estate adventures and arm you with practical strategies to be a smarter buyer, seller, tenant, or landlord. All right, today is an exciting first episode in a series of episodes about building my dream home. All right, first, let me tell you about why I'm calling it that, and then I'll back up and take you to this point, and then we'll talk about where I'm at with the process right now. So some of you might have heard, a lot of you have heard and have asked me to do videos about the process of us building our new home, my husband and me, for our family and our little son. And the last time I did a video was back in April 2021, when we had found the lot that we would build our home on, and I talked about the journey leading up to that point, and I promised you that I would take you along the rest of the ride through the pre-construction, construction, and even post-construction after we build this home. And so let me tell you a little bit about the reason I'm calling it building our dream home, or building my dream home. Really, to be honest, it's just a catchier title than, say, our custom home build or building our next home or something like that. I don't really see this home particularly as my dream home. I think when I think of dream home, I think of a really over-the-top, elaborate house that would be featured on national TV, that type of thing, like a celebrity home. And this is not on that level, but I realize that, for most people, this is their dream home. Most people couldn't build a home of this caliber. Certainly it's going to be large. The finishes will be very nice. It will be a luxury home at a luxury price point. And, it certainly can be called a dream home. I just don't like to think of it like that. I think because part of me thinks that maybe we could build another home after this that might be the dream home. But in case this is it, we want to make sure everything is right. And so we've taken a lot of painstaking detail into, or put a lot of painstaking thought into every detail. But just because we'd both hate to move into the home and have something just bother us, right? Like, oh gosh, that corner juts out a little bit, and we have to see that, for the next however many years. It could be that this is our last home. It could be that we raise our son here, and in 15 plus years we downsize, or we could, like I said, build another home or buy another home before that time. That could be even nicer and more dreamy. So who knows? But for this purpose, we want to make sure we get it right in case this is it for us. Okay, so I drew this cute little house, which is not what our house will look like. But anyway, this is my son's little writing tablet. And I wrote some things on here, some words that I'll be talking about in terms of what we have to do and what we've been working on in this pre-construction phase over this past summer and these past few months. And this will be helpful for you if you are thinking about building a home. And even if you're not building a home, some of these apply to buying an existing home or remodeling your current home. So pay attention. And if you have any questions, please feel free to message me or comment. And I hope you will like and subscribe on Facebook and YouTube. And I post the video links to LinkedIn as well. And just keep watching Smarter Real Estate. Okay, let's dive right in. So the first thing is the soil report. This is where a geological company comes out and drills into the soil and takes a soil sample. They want to know what kind of soil is under there, how hard it is, and the different layers of soil, and also where they hit groundwater. And they do this because they end up giving you a report that's dozens of pages long, which we've received, that says what type of foundation and the exact specifications you need under your house. It also tells you things like how far away you have to plant trees so that they don't damage the foundation, because as you probably know, as the trees grow, their root system starts spreading out farther and deeper and can then grow toward the foundation and actually hit the foundation, causing cracking to happen in your house, foundation problems. It could be really bad and very expensive. So even if you're looking to buy an existing home, you want to look at where the trees are. Make sure you don't have large trees or baby trees that will eventually grow into large trees that are too close to the home. I can't tell you exactly how many feet. I'm not an arborist or an inspector, but if it's within a few feet of the house, then you might have problems, right? It's safer to have them to be, 10, 15, 20 feet as far away as possible. Okay, so that is the soil report that we have in hand, and it's very interesting and fascinating. It's very scientific to go through. I'm not going to get in too much into the weeds with all these different things that I'm going to be talking about today, because I don't want to bore you to death. And also, a lot of it is very specific and very technical, but I'm just giving you a little bit of a higher level overview so that you have useful information and working knowledge of this sort of thing. Okay, and before I continue, just to give you a little setting of where I am right now, I am somewhere in the vicinity of the neighborhood where we're going to be building our home. I'm out and about today. Happen to have to come to this area, and so I thought, hey, let's shoot this video here. Okay, I'm sitting in my car too. All right, the next thing is surveys, okay? And it's surveys with an S, because here's the deal. When you buy a lot or a lot or a property with an existing house on it, or any type of structure, sometimes the seller has an existing survey that they will give you. That way you don't have to pay for a new one unless your lender or title company requires it. And then the seller is supposed to provide you with what's called a T-47 affidavit, indicating whether or not there have been changes made to the property that would affect the survey. Fences that have been erected, torn down, moved, swimming pools and decks that have been added or taken away, things like that, because those are all things that will appear on the survey, because it's showing you what is on the lot and how things that are built on your lot are affecting the boundary lines. Are they crossing any boundary lines? Are they encroaching on other neighboring properties? Are they encroaching on you? Showing where the easements are, utility easements, both aerial and underground, things like that. Your builder is going to use this information plus the city ordinances and also any homeowners association rules to determine where he can build. Okay, so how far back can the house sit? How far forward can it come? How far to the sides? Can you build a detached garage? How high can you build the house? All those things are dictated in large part by the survey. So here's the deal though. In my case, the seller's affidavit stated that there were no changes since the last survey was taken that they provided us, but that turned out to be false. There were changes including a fence being removed that used to be there, but was still showing up on the survey. And in another one, showing a certain type of fence that was there before that is no longer there, but in fact, a new different type of fence is up that's actually encroaching onto our property. So we're working that out with that neighbor who's been very pleasant to talk to so far. And so we're hoping to get to a satisfying, fair resolution on that because their fence is encroaching onto our property just a little bit. Little is relative. You can consider it quite a bit because the entire length of the fence means a lot of square footage, or obviously it's not encroaching like onto half of our property. But anyway, I won't get into all those details, but suffice it to say that this information was not accurately represented to us by the sellers that we bought the lot from. And so it is very important that when you're doing new construction that you get your own new survey, even if you have an existing survey, for reasons exactly like this, but also because a construction survey or a survey for construction purposes is going to have a level of detail that is not present in just your basic survey. So we ordered a topographical survey. They went through and they would normally show where all the trees are located. Unfortunately, we don't have any trees on our lot, but they were all torn down. But if you have a bunch of trees, you would want to know where they all are, the types of trees that we're dealing with, and that would help you to know, and the builder to know, where you can build the house. Are there any trees that need to be gotten rid of, unfortunately, to make room for your house? Are there any trees that are at risk of being damaged or even killed during the construction process because they're too close to where digging is going to happen and construction vehicles coming through and things like that? Okay, the next thing is elevation certificates. So again, it's plural because you have an elevation certificate to begin with, then they do another one after construction's underway, and yet another one once the home is complete. And that is going to show you the heights of things. So where the soil level is above sea level and where you need to build your house. So for example, if you're in a floodplain and you need to build up higher, that elevation certificate is going to tell the builder, well, how many feet higher do you need to build in terms of the first floor, how high does it need to be above the soil level, and things like that. And so that is extremely important. That is going to determine what extra cost there might be in order to build that house up higher, for example. And of course, that may also affect, how tall your ceilings can be if you're building in an area where there are rules in terms of how high the roof can be for your home. Okay. The next thing I wrote on here is builder. So the builder is obviously an extremely important decision that you have to make, because you are going to be working with this person. This person is going to be building your house over several months or a year or more. Or if you're truly building a dream home, it could take a few years. Okay. So you want it to be someone who you're going to be able to work with well. And there's actually another video I did earlier about, selecting a builder and the things that you need to look for. So you can check that video out for more details on that. I'm not going to go into that right now, but you also want to make sure that you know what the pricing is going to be like, especially during this pandemic, as prices of raw materials have really gone up and fluctuated. A lot of buyers, unfortunately, have been surprised by when builders all of a sudden, after you sign a contract with them, they're like, actually, we need you to pay up like tens of thousands of more dollars, or even hundreds of thousands of more dollars for this home because my lumber costs and other costs have gone up, labor costs, etc. So you don't want to be in for a surprise like that. You want to know what kind of contract you're signing. So if you're going to pick a cost plus builder, then that builder is going to increase your price that you pay if their costs go up. If it's not a cost plus builder, then you don't have to worry about that, but just make sure you know what your contract says. And this is exactly why buyers have me represent them when they're building a house, because you think, oh, I don't need a realtor. I can just, work with a builder directly and build this house. Well, there's a lot of surprises. And you know what? A lot of people say that building a new house is one of the most stressful experiences that they can have. Now, for me and my husband, because we're in real estate, it's really not that stressful for us. We have a good handle on it. We know what we're doing. I have represented both builder and buyer, so both sides of the transaction, in spec home builds, semi-custom and custom home builds. And our current home is a semi-custom build. So we've been through the process and we're quite familiar with it. The only thing that stresses us out, but just on a smaller level, is making sure that for us personally, we are making the exact right decisions for our home, the floor plan, so, and later on the selections and everything like that. But it's not stressful, just the idea of building the house and the process going through that, because we know what we're doing. So that's why I've been able to help other clients who are doing the same thing. Okay. The next thing that you'll be working on with your builder is the floor plan. Okay. The floor plan, obviously you're going to figure out the layout of your home. I'm going to do some videos in the future about how we designed our floor plan and arrived at it and all the intricacies involved. It is so fascinating. And so just going to be so interesting. So that'll be a fun video. But the floor plan also gets very detailed. You're going to ultimately arrive at an engineering plan, which is going to have all the engineering details, stuff that you don't even know what it means. It'll show you all the roof detail, the cabinets, electrical plan, just everything. Okay. So not just your basic builder plan when you walk into a model home and you get a copy of the floor plan that shows you the dimensions of each room and where the staircase is and the kitchen sink and things like that. That's the basics, but it goes much more depth than that for building a home, because there's so much more detail that you can't even see that's behind the scenes. Okay, next thing is, do you want to hire an interior designer? So some builders have an architect that you work with, some also have an interior designer you work with, but sometimes it's extra if you want to hire your own interior designer or go through the builder's interior designer. And so in our case, we interviewed a few interior designers that were either referrals, recommended by someone we know, or somebody that we found through like our realtor network, something like that. So when you are talking to those interior designers, again, on this video, I'm not going to be going in depth in terms of how to choose an interior designer, but you want to make sure that they have designed homes and worked with furnishing and decorating homes that reflect your personal style or are pretty close to it, or they're able to, that they're not going to push their own style on you. And obviously that their pricing is within your budget. We felt like an interior designer could be very helpful for us to make our home just a little bit more refined than what we ourselves can do. I mean, we have pretty good taste in design ideas and that sort of thing. And obviously being in real estate, have really a wealth of knowledge in that regard, but the reality is that we're not trained in interior design, so we are not professional interior designers. And so at this level of home, we just really wanted to have that extra help to just make the home that much better. So that's a component. All right. And then how are we going to pay for all this? Money. Okay. So either you're going to pay cash or you need to get a loan for the construction. And so I talked a little bit about this in a previous video as well, but essentially, if you're getting a construction loan, there's a process you need to go through and the steps toward it. And again, not going to go into great detail about that right now because I don't want this video to go on forever, but you need to know how much you're putting down, how many years the term is going to be, find out interest rates, see who does construction loans, and how long you have to build the home before you incur a penalty, because you builders can't build forever, okay? And what kind of fees are involved. The lender is going to send an inspector to check the house as it's going through each construction phase, because the builder is going to ask for draws. They're going to ask for a certain percentage of the money from the lender to pay the builder for the construction along the way. So after significant things happen, like after the foundation is poured, after the AC unit is put in, after the roof is put in, different things like that. And so the inspector is going to come out and make sure the house is actually at that stage before the lender sends a payment to the builder. You're going to have to put down some level of down payment, most likely. You're going to have to figure out if you need to get a jumbo loan, which is above the conforming loan limit, which currently is about $548,000. If you're building a really luxury home, if you want to get a loan that's higher than that, there may be an interest rate difference. Some construction lenders will do different types of terms. Like some may only give you like adjustable rate mortgages that are shorter term. Some may do longer ones. Some may have a variety of options. So there's lots to think about. And the fees can be very different for the loan origination, as well as each inspection that is done by the lender that you have to pay a fee for. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to talk about the HOA and city permit approval process. So if you live in a deed restricted community with an HOA, you're going to have to get their approval of your floor plan. They really care most about the exterior architecture because that is going to affect the overall look of the neighborhood. And they also want to make sure you're adhering to their building line rules. Some neighborhoods, they want all the houses to not go beyond a certain building line. So you have a certain size of front yard as your minimum. And some neighborhoods don't really care so much. And so you can have some houses with a ton of front yard and some with very little. And so those are all things that matter. And also the height of the home, how many garages you can have, 2-car, 3-car. And then also the types of materials that you're allowed to use. Some neighborhoods want all stucco homes with tile roofs. Some will let you do a variety of different exterior materials for the side, of the house, and also the, or I should say the facade of the house, and also the roof. And there may be rules on whether you can have a gate for your driveway or a gate around your house, just all sorts of things. So you have to get them to approve, and then the city has to give you a permit to build as well. And I should say at this point that this video is about my process, and also in Houston and Texas, and in year 2021. If you're watching this video about from a different location, this may not apply to where you are. And if you're watching this video in a different year, certain things and rules may have changed. So just keep all that in mind. So yes, the city will have to review your plans and everything in order to issue you a permit to build. This is the same for if you're doing remodeling that's beyond just something like little in your house. Like obviously if you switch a light switch, you don't have to apply for a permit for that. But anything really involved, like where you're tearing down walls and really doing some serious building, you have to get a permit approved by the city as well. This is true for Houston anyway. So this all has to be approved, and this adds to the time it takes for construction. So at this point, we've gotten through all these things that I mentioned, okay? We haven't, gotten the permit yet. That all is coming in terms of applying for approvals and all that. So once you actually have that is when your builder can actually start breaking ground and has the go ahead. It is possible too that the builder, when they send in the application for the permit, may get the city coming back to them and saying, there's something we don't like, there's something we want you to change, or you're missing this information, we need you to send it to us, and then that can prolong the process further. That's why you also have to time your construction loan properly so that you don't have this eat into the time that you have for actually building the house. Because when that happens, usually builders don't finish early. They're going to take longer because all sorts of unforeseen circumstances happen, right? Labor or material shortages, a hurricane, a flood, anything that can happen at any sort of disaster. Like, no one's going to magically appear and bring more materials than you ordered, right? So it's only going to be that you're going to have a shortage or a delay. Those are the possibilities. And also, if you're working with a custom builder that's a smaller builder, for example, they don't necessarily have access to as many options if they're in a bind for labor or materials as, say, a mass, builder, a builder that, say, has like a statewide or nationwide presence, or that builds hundreds or thousands of homes a year, is going to have a little bit more leveraging power. Those builders tend to build faster, but they also tend not to be as custom. They don't build as nice. The quality and the refinement is not usually quite as there, and so it's just a different product altogether. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that and got a lot of good information out of it. And I wish you a very good week, and I'll see you next time on Smarter Real Estate. Thanks. Bye.